My name is Abbie. I'm deeply passionate about all things wild and have made it my mission to document many of the world's most stunning trails, be that through day hikes or multi-day long distance walking.
Each route is totally unique. Some traverse exposed moorlands and rugged mountaintops, others pass through bustling market towns and historical cities. They follow world-renowned archaeological discoveries and travel through some of the most tranquil valleys and mystical forests accessible on foot. It's not surprising then that they attract walkers from all over the world, many seeking a challenge, others looking to break free from the monotony of everyday life and be inspired by nature. My reason for hiking though is one of discovery and awareness. Getting outside is now more important than ever before, with obesity rates maintaining record highs and mental health issues affecting over 1 in 4 individuals. There are incredible landscapes all around us, but so few of us dare to venture into such seemingly inhospitable lands for fear of failure or becoming lost. Well, I'm here to show you otherwise and inspire you to don your walking boots and spend more time in the wild for the benefit of mental and physical health. I've realised that sometimes you don't have to do something crazy or radical to change how you feel about your life. You just have to walk. I face my own trials with mental ill health, as no doubt you'll see throughout my travels, but alongside building a strong support network, getting outside and taking the time to reconnect with nature has helped me move further along the road of personal discovery. So, here's me inviting you to join me on my adventures as I explore this beautiful planet. There will be challenges along the way, and we're not guaranteed to succeed, but it takes a brave heart and a courageous soul to commit to the unknown. Now all you have to do is decide that you want it more than you are afraid of it. Are you ready? Let's go.
Good morning and welcome to Fort William. This sore feet statue is the official end of the West Highland Way. I finished my journey along the way yesterday. It took me 6 days and I had an absolute blast. But now it's time for a new adventure. We're headed along the Great Glen Way. We've got 79 miles between here and Inverness and the end of the route. I have a slight problem though. My boots are falling apart. So I've got some duct tape. I'm going to tape them together and hope that it will last for the full 80 miles of the trail. We'll see how we get on. And then once these guys are taped up and I'm ready to go, we'll go and find the start of the route and we'll get walking.
The Great Glen Way opened in 2002 as the 4th official long-distance footpath in Scotland. It travels along the length of the Great Glen, a significant fault line and glacial trough that splits the Highlands in two, making it one of Scotland's most outstanding landscape features. Fort William, where the route begins, is a pretty major tourist hotspot, partly due to its proximity to Ben Nevis, the highest mountain in the UK. It's a town steeped in history and has numerous key sites worth checking out before heading off into the wilds.
I finally found it. This is the official start of the Great Glen Way. We got Loch Lochy over there and we're going to be heading along 3 different lochs during our time in the Great Glen. So we got Loch Lochy, Loch Oich and Loch Ness. Keep an eye out for the Loch Ness monster, guys. You're on monster watch. And we'll make our way 79 miles to Inverness. I'm not sure how many days I'm going to be doing this in, maybe 4 or 5. We'll see, play it by ear. I'm quite late setting out today and I had originally planned doing 23 miles, but it's nearly like 9 o'clock, so we'll see how we go. Thankfully I can wild camp in different places and just play this by ear. And I'm really just open to what the trail has to offer because I don't know a huge enough amount about it. I've been so focused on the West Highland Way and I've landed up here and I'm like, oh, I'm doing the Great Glen Way now. And I don't know much about it. We go along the Caledonian Canal and that's about it. That is the extent of my knowledge. So you guys are going to be exploring with me. I'll bring you along on the journey and hopefully you'll be as inspired as I will be by this trail. The next thing is to get started. Hopefully we won't get lost doing that. Let's go!
Next to the official start is the remains of the old Fort William and Cromwellian barracks, built by Cromwell in 1654 to shelter English troops sent out to pacify the local clans. It was used as a military house until the late 1800s, when it was then sold and dismantled for use as a railway yard for the West Highland Railway.
Here we go, look! This is the Scottish thistle. We're going to be following this for the duration of our walk. And there's another sign up here, the Great Glen Way, this way. And somewhere over there is Ben Nevis, the highest mountain in the UK, but apparently we can't see that today. Partly because of the caravan, but also the clouds. And here's the second beginning. Welcome to the Great Glen Way. Game on. So the first part of today, as you've seen, has been a little bit industrial in Fort William, and we're making our way to the Inverlochy castle. So from there then we'll pick up the Caledonian Canal, which will follow nice and flat, fast walking to Loch Lochy. Now whether or not I stop before I begin the journey along the shores of Loch Lochy is yet to be decided, or I could possibly camp along the shores of the loch. We'll see how we go. So it's just gone 9 o'clock this morning. My original plan, as I say, was to do 23 miles to a wild campsite, but I'm just staying open to whatever I feel like doing today actually. It's quite nice because usually I have a set schedule and this time I don't.
Thankfully, it wasn't too long before I emerged from the houses and industrial sites to open views towards Ben Nevis, spectacularly shrouded in cloud as it majestically guarded the glen and the River Lochy that I was following.
My original plan after finishing the West Highland Way was to hang around here for a couple of days in the hope that we get a good day with the weather and then give the mountain a shot, but it's not panned out like that, and that's okay. So it means that potentially I'll have a couple of days in Inverness before my flight back, which is not a problem. We'll fill that time with entertainment, I'm sure. But it also means that, as I say, I can take as long as I like on this trail. I've got a good window of time, and it's going to be a big contrast to the West Highland Way for anyone who's walked one and then doing the other, because this is exceptionally flat. I'll show you the like diagram of the elevation in a minute for today. It's literally flat. So hopefully that means it's going to be nice fast walking, lots to see, and we'll just enjoy being out. I just cannot tell you how much I love being outside, breathing the air, exploring new land. This is everything I live for. Taking a quick detour off the route, that's the Soldiers Bridge which we need to go over, so I'll go up there in a minute. I just wanted to see if we could have a look at Inverlochy Castle, check it out underneath the railway.
Inverlochy Castle dates back to 1280, and with one side defended by the River Lochy, the other three sides would originally have been protected by a water-filled ditch. Inside, there would be timber stables, kitchens, a hall and a bakehouse, safeguarded by the high stone walls. It was built by the Comyn family, but was soon under the control of Robert the Bruce when he became king in 1306, and then changed hands many times in the years to come, acting as a courthouse in the 1500s and a storehouse in the 1700s.
So that was Inverlochy Castle. We're going up over the Soldier Bridge now to cross over the river to the other side.
The bridge gained its name after its construction by the army, who gifted it to the local community. It sits next to the Lochy Railway Bridge, which is still an active line that connects Fort Williams to the Highlands. On the other side of the bridge is Lochyside and Coille, which overlook Loch Lochy and offer decent views back towards Fort William and Ben Nevis.
Got this wreck of a ship here, just sat on the edge of the loch. I reckon that's a fishing vessel. Wow. Well, here it is, the Caledonian Canal, connecting the Atlantic coast with the North Sea. It was completed and opened in 1822, and this is what we'll be following for a fair stretch of our walk along the Great Glen Way.
At 60 miles in length, the canal has 29 locks, 4 aqueducts and 10 bridges. It was an incredible construction project, overseen and undertaken by Thomas Telford, the Scottish engineer, costing nearly £1 million, so over 80 million in today's money.
Here we go. This is interesting. We're just approaching one of the key sites on the trail, called Neptune's Staircase, which is a set of 8 different locks on the canal that the boats have to go through to either take them from 19 metres down to sea level or from sea level up to 19 metres. It takes about an hour and a half to get through, and it's a pretty incredible feat of engineering actually.
Neptune's is the longest staircase in Britain and was originally hand-powered, but now uses hydraulic operations. It was interesting to watch the boat slowly lifting as the water level rose, and I couldn't help but imagine the different types of vessels that must have passed by throughout its history.
It's probably worth me mentioning that this is the book that I'm using to sort of plan this trip. So it's a Trailblazer travel guide, and it's got all about different wild camping spots. It's got actual campsites, which little villages have shops, the sort of opening times of the shops, phone numbers. So it's quite a weight, but it's really invaluable in terms of the information it gives me about the trail and about the amenities on the trail. So this is nice and easy for me just to walk along and read this. So I'm sort of trying to figure out roughly where I could stop tonight. I was aiming for a Trailblazer campsite further up on Loch Lochy. So as I say, it's about 23 miles, but since I set out quite late this morning and I'm not feeling crazy energized, I'm thinking I'll just try and wild camp somewhere along the loch. So we'll get to the southern head and then we'll sort of keep our eye open really from there for somewhere to camp and pitch up, get a good night's sleep, and then feel energized for tomorrow. I can imagine. Are you doing the whole thing or? I think that might be my next trip. So basically, just like the Great Glen Way is designed for walkers to walk from Fort William to Inverness, it's also a canoe route, so a water route from Inverness to Fort William, which is something I would just love to do actually, kind of a few days. I think it's about a 60-mile expedition on the water. So stay tuned folks, that might just happen someday. Hi. Hi. It's lovely to see this stretch of towpath being used by so many people as walkers and runners and cyclists, and then obviously the canal, you've got the sailors and the canoeists. This really is kind of like an outdoor capital. If you live in Scotland, you've got to love the outdoors. My kind of place. It is crazy peaceful on this trail right now. The weather could not be any better, and I'm just soaking up the stillness and the beauty. And this bank here is just alive with colour. There's so many different wildflowers, but definitely my favourite's the harebells. They're so delicate and just the most beautiful flower. But there's just purples and pinks and yellows and whites. It's really lovely. Alright, complete distraction. I found raspberries and I'm gonna eat them. I couldn't walk past these and not eat them. There's some more over here. I'm gonna enjoy these. Oh, winning! We're just walking past the Moy Swing Bridge. Great Glen Way's the oldest swinger. This swing bridge is the only surviving original bridge over the canal. It was built to provide access to the fields of Moy Farm and is for use by the farmer only. Unlike modern bridges along the canal, Moy Bridge is operated by hand. The lockkeeper has to turn a capstan to open the south side of the bridge first, then row across the canal in a small boat to open the other side. No way! And there's an image of him going. Bless him. In the snow. Gosh. This is quite a cool stretch of path actually. I've got the Caledonian Canal here on my left, and now to my right is the River Lochy, which is really quite a vast river to be honest. I'm loving the sound of the water flowing, and I've been keeping my eye open for sort of waterfowl, different wading birds, but there's not too much of a shore. It's just a vast expanse of water. Gairlochy Bottom Loch. That's where we are right now. For the new recruits from Speen Bridge to start their commando training, Gairlochy Bridge was where they met up with the pipe band. As the troops got off the train at Speen Bridge station, one soldier asks where the transport is. The NCO replies, 7 miles, no transport. There was a lot of moaning and groaning as we formed up, and then we marched off, flanked by instructors. The piper was playing a tune that would have made the dead get up and march, which in our case was almost essential. Bless them. Okay, so we are at Gairlochy. I'm just looking at the map here, and I kind of been thinking along this stretch. So what we've done is we've walked from Fort William, we've walked all the way along the River Lochy. We went past the castle, and then all the way along the canal, and now we're here at Gairlochy. Now there's actually a campsite about 3/4 of a mile down the road, and then 2 miles further on down the road is a little place called Speen Bridge, which has got a spa and a post office and stuff. So kind of what I've been thinking is I'm feeling really tired today. I've set out later than intended because I was sorting all my kit out after the West Highland Way. Obviously looked at the castle. I've been walking nice and steady, just looking at the flowers, trying to formulate a plan. And what I've decided to do is to split today the 23 miles into 2 lots of 11.5. So basically then tomorrow I'll end up at the Trailblazer Wild campsite that I was going to go to today. And then from there I'll pick up my schedule again, so then I'll have another 3 days left. So that's kind of my plan. What it means is I finished really nice and early today. I'll finish really early tomorrow. I can actually look at things when I have shorter days, which is quite nice, because often on like a 20+ mile day I'm just like go, go, go. I just need to walk and walk until I'm done. So that's the plan anyway. So I'm going to go and check out this campsite, see what it's like. It's probably a commercial one, so I'll look forward to wild camping tomorrow, but at least I can charge up phones and things, just get myself properly sorted out. And then what I might do is just walk the 2 miles down into Speen Bridge and then walk back again, so that's an extra 4 miles anyway. So it's still a fair old day, and actually try and get some sleep tonight. So that's the plan. I really love the walking so far today, but we're going to leave the official trail and head on down this road until we get to the campsite. Some pretty epic views down the glen there. You can see the mountain sides rising up and the forest sort of peppering its way along, and Loch Lochy is just over the brow of the hill. I'm really excited to explore that territory tomorrow.
The road down to the campsite took me past the Newcomer hydroelectric power station, which is part of the Great Glen Hydro scheme run by Scottish Hydroelectric. They are responsible for generating, transmitting, distributing and supplying electric throughout the north of Scotland, including the Highlands and the Islands. Just a little further on was the campsite, a quiet place with a small camping area, where I pitched up and passed out, falling asleep before I even got my roll mat out.
My tent is up. I have had a nap and now I am walking to Speen Bridge. I am so glad I stopped here. Look at that view! That's pretty incredible. The mountains just rising up to meet the sky. How stunning are they?
I had no idea that on the road down to Speen Bridge stood a Category A listed commando memorial dedicated to the British commando forces raised during World War II. As one of Scotland's best known monuments, it's situated overlooking the training area of the Commando Training Depot established in 1942, with further views over towards Ben Nevis and Oich Moor. Next to the bronze monument is a garden of remembrance that had a real atmosphere, allowing for the cultivation of a deep sense of gratitude. Speen Bridge itself was worth a quick look around, but I didn't stop for too long, soon heading back to camp to rest up for day 2.
Good morning! We are leaving the campsite behind and we're on the road to make our way back to the official trail at the loch. Today what we're going to do is we're going to follow Loch Lochy, head along the shores, that's interesting, head along the shore and make our way to Laggan today. So I'm going to have a nice short day. I was going to go to that campsite, that wild campsite, but I decided that's literally like 9 miles away, which is ridiculous. So I'm heading to Laggan. There's a youth hostel there. I'll see if I can camp. If not, then I'll sleep inside the building, which will be interesting because I often find the transition between camping and heading inside quite uncomfortable actually. So we'll see. It rained all night, quite heavy actually, and it was tipping it down this morning, so I've just taken my time again because it's another nice short day, which is good for me. So I've got about 13 to 15 miles to cover, I'm not exactly sure, but I'm quite happy just to take my time again today. I feel like very often on the trail I'm pushing those miles, big days, and it definitely takes an element of joy out of them, even though I love the challenge. So, you know, with this trail today, let's just see what we can see. Hopefully the weather will hold out a little bit. I expect we'll get a little bit wet, but that's alright. And make our way to Laggan. Game on. Are you a friendly horsey? You're beautiful. You look a little bit wet though. Oh, hello. Good morning. You're nice and warm. Oh. And here we are then, back at the Gairlochy Loch, Caledonian Canal, looking as awesome as it did yesterday. Crossing over the canal. Exciting times, we're on to new territory. And there it is, that is Loch Lochy, Scotland's third deepest loch at around 10 miles in length. We're going to be journeying along its shores for the entire duration of today. It's going to be wonderful.
The path wound its way along the shores of the loch through vibrant broad-leafed forest filled with towering birch and beech trees, and crossing the occasional river filled with water that seemed desperate to reach the loch below. There weren't too many spots where you could see out over the loch itself, but when the forest did give way, I was stopped in my tracks every time and moved by the beauty around me.
It really is beautiful, beautiful walking, and I'm loving the fact that it's pretty much nearly flat. It means you can get some miles in quite quickly and actually just enjoy the landscape that you're walking through rather than staring at your feet the whole time. So it's beautiful, really beautiful. Here's the road. It's a nice quiet one, so that's good. We're going to follow this to a couple of hamlets, but they're very interesting hamlets, as you'll get to see. Here we go, look, this is what we're talking about. One of the points of interest, this is a World War II landing craft assault. So you can see what it would have looked like there in that picture. From 1940 to 1945, highlands, mountains, lochs, rivers and beaches became arduous training grounds for the original Army and Royal Marine Commandos. Men trained in and around this area from 1942 to 1945, when Anacarry, which is where we're going, or Anacarry, there we go, house, served as the Commando Basic Training Centre. So as that sign has just explained, the Anacarry place that we're walking to now was famously used for training for World War II, and there's one military exercise that blows my mind that I've read about recently, and basically the soldiers had to run up Ben Nevis, the highest mountain in the UK. It's pretty much 4 vertical miles uphill, which is just crazy. And you know, the exercises these guys had to go through were so intense. We've got the Commando boathouse coming up and various other sites of interest, so we'll check it all out. You can't really miss this big obvious sign, Clam Camera Museum. So it's just up the road about 3/4 of a mile, maybe a mile actually, and basically it's a little museum. It's about £4 to enter, dedicated to the Cameron clan. You can find out all about their history from the 14th century right up to the present day. So if you're interested in checking out that thing, it's up that private drive. But I'm going to see if we can find out more about World War II and the training that went on here.
The village was a quiet place with a peaceful vibe, so it was hard to imagine it being the centre of such intense training for the troops serving in the Second World War.
It's just started raining. I don't know if it's like one single cloud. Oh no, never mind. Alright, might just need to put my coat on.
I stood under the shelter of some trees for a while to watch as the rain dove confidently and sure into the loch below, and relaxed into the steady pitter-patter that filled the air around me. It might have been wet, but it certainly was very relaxing, and lasted until I reached the Commando boat station.
The trainees were loaded into boats and then rowed or paddled across Loch Lochy and carried out a mock attack against a heavily defended section of the shore of the loch. It may have been a mock attack, but it's certainly not a mock defence. The attack route was carefully planned and determined, and any deviation from it would put the trainees in grave danger. They were confronted with an arsenal of weapons manned by an army of instructors skilled in the art of shooting to miss, but not by very much. The weapons of defence, from the mortars to the rifles, spat out live stuff and spat it out in vast quantities. That must have been petrifying. We got just about a mile now along this road to a place called Clunes, and that is a very big pine tree.
I didn't know it at the time, but about a mile off the track near the Clan Cameron Museum is one of the finest remains of ancient Caledonian pine forest in Scotland. The big trees I was passing by were Scots pines, which directly descended from the first pines to arrive in Scotland following the late glacial period around 9,000 years ago.
So I've just walked through Clunes without even kind of realising it, and we've got a sign here saying 7 miles to Laggan, which is good. And then it says, "Take care, you are entering remote, sparsely populated, potentially dangerous mountain country. Please ensure that you are adequately experienced and equipped to complete your journey without assistance."
The path into the forest took me past a little forest school and a bit further on an Iron Age hut platform, all of the earliest traces of human activity in the woods. There were also some cool shelters overlooking the loch, tucked away in the bushes off the path.
That's a good wild camping spot. Right by this. Look at that. You know, my guidebook kind of makes out that this 7-mile stretch is really boring. It goes on and on and on, and sure, it does go on and on and on, but I think it's really important to not lose sight of the fact that it is an incredible thing that we are walking through a forest right now. You know, just 13 or 14% of the UK remains to be covered in trees, just a tiny fraction of what it used to be. And these coniferous plantations made up of evergreen sort of pines, they're an amazing ecosystem. You know, the leaves themselves, they don't shed off the trees, that's why they're called evergreen. And these are some hardy plants. Think about the winters that come in here, the snows and the wind, the cold, how it locks everything in. And these guys survive year after year. And some of the oldest trees in the world are actually pine trees. The needles themselves are covered in a little waxy layer that locks in that moisture. It means it isn't lost very easily. And you know, they're home to some incredible wildlife. Red squirrels, pine martens, the floor is carpeted in different mosses that can survive the acidic soil that's left behind by the rotting needles. It's an amazing place, and I think when you walk through these areas, you have to be able to appreciate what they really are and how incredible it is that they stand here free for us to access.
There really was so much to love about this stretch of path. The waterfalls, the trees and the birds singing in them, the occasional views over the loch, and the timeless feeling of the lands around me. It was a long way along the track, but there was plenty to see and explore.
Wow, we got here faster than I thought. So this is one of the composting toilets on the official Great Glen Way trail. So there's these kind of trailblazer campsites that you can wild camp at, as I was originally going to do on day one, and this is where I would have stopped. And there's these composting toilets. You can buy a key, so they're locked. There you go, they're locked. So it's £10 for a key. You can get it at the beginning of the trail and then use these toilets, which is quite cool actually. And they're composting ones, so they don't use or waste any water, which is awesome. So I just love the fact that the Great Glen Way has got these as an option. Just really encouraging people to sleep out in the beauty that this environment has to offer. You know, you can walk it, you can run it, you can cycle it, you can canoe it, and I just think they're a really great thing to provide to maximize the user experience. It feels a bit like I'm on an emotional roller coaster because my mood seems to be dictated by the weather. When the sun comes out, I just can't stop smiling. Like, just how the loch just goes deep, deep blue. And even though I can't really see it that well actually, which is a shame because I was really looking forward to some lochside walking. When I can see it, it's pretty spectacular. There we go. So we've left the Clunes Forest now. That gate was our official exit. And we are passing by Kilfinnan, which is a farm and some holiday chalets. And so we're making really good progress then to Laggan. I'm finding myself feeling a little bit disappointed. Not because it's raining again, but because, you know, we've really not been able to see much of Loch Lochy today. We've got a few views now, which is nice, but we're nearing the end. When we get to Laggan, we hit the Caledonian Canal again, and that's it. So I expected to see more, but I guess what we have seen has been pretty ace. So there's Kilfinnan Farm, and this is the burn that runs right by it. Honestly, every single waterfall just gets me so stoked. Got our first views over towards Laggan now. It's not really a obvious settlement in the fact that it's just houses sprawled along like a mile stretch of road. And the youth hostel's just off on the road. So what we'll see is when we get to the junction, there's a split. So I could either take the straight on path and that will carry on along the route, on the high route, or we can go left and go on towards the Great Glen hostel, which is where we're staying. Say hi to the postman. I'm really quite excited to check out this hostel. I've not stayed in one for a very long time. I gave them a ring and they don't take camping, which is a shame. But it's a great way to meet people, and obviously facilities there. I don't have to sort of wild everything, you know, even though you're out here and you really want to truly immerse yourself in the beauty that Scotland has to offer. It's quite nice to do things differently. On the West Highland Way I stayed in my first bothy, and so this is going to be one of my first youth hostels that I've actually chosen to stay in, so pretty stoked to see what it's going to be like. So we're at that junction. If you go up there, that's the Inver route, which is the high route towards Fort Augustus, where we'll be headed to tomorrow. Or we're going this way, which will take us into Laggan. Now thankfully I can rejoin the Inver route tomorrow morning just by following this road to a swing bridge, cross over the Caledonian Canal, and then join the higher route, which would be quite nice because I would like to get above the tree line if possible and check the view out of all the different lochs. But at the head of this in a minute then, it means we're at the end of Loch Lochy, leaving that one behind as we head on along our journey on the Great Glen Way.
Laggan Lochs is made up of 2 flights of lochs and overlooks Loch Lochy rather spectacularly, although the next stretch along the road to the hostel was less than ideal.
So I've just got to survive this little stretch along the A82. This is the main link road between Fort William and Inverness, and it gets pretty busy with trucks and travellers and stuff. So hopefully we can cross over in a minute. So gonna die. I do not recommend this. If you value your life, do not walk along this road. Very nearly at the hostel now. So that brings us to the end of day 2 on the Great Glen Way. Another short day and actually quite simple as it goes when it comes to walking. A nice little stretch this morning and then this afternoon along the forestry track. So very enjoyable, not very strenuous, and it's tomorrow that the trail starts to get more interesting because we're going to go up. We're going to go to the Inver route, so we'll go check that little place out, and hopefully we can do all that after a good night's sleep and a bit of food this evening. So really loving this trail so far. Amazing, amazing, amazing scenery, and game on for day 3.
The hostel, parts of which date back to the 19th century, was a cosy place with great facilities and welcoming staff. It provided the opportunity for me to dry out my kit and get some decent food down me, and I fell asleep, blissfully dreaming of forests and waterfalls.
Good morning and welcome to day 3 on the Great Glen Way. I slept, it was dry, my tent's dry, I'm living the high life right now, other than the fact that the duct tape hasn't held. So I'm going to need to retape my boots and then we'll head out into the weather. It's pretty showery today, a little bit chilly, but nothing we can't handle. It's going to be good. Just leaving.
You got the key? Okay,
The key. Thank you for that. That was great. Cheers.
I mean, the main thing was...
We are outside. It feels good to be outside. It was pretty warm in there. Morning. And we're headed to Fort Augustus today. So it's only around 12 miles. I know yesterday I said that I was going to take the route up to Inver, but I've been reading the guidebook and actually I'm not feeling crazy inspired by it. They seem to just make out it's kind of a money-making thing to get people to Inver to buy stuff, so they weren't really selling the route. So therefore, I'm going to walk along the shores, the eastern shore of Loch Oich today, which will be lovely actually, because I felt a bit deprived of loch views yesterday, so we'll look forward to that. As you can see, the temperature is dropping, but I'm still in a t-shirt. Got to do it. So yeah, really looking forward to today. Hopefully the weather will be kind to us. Never really know, it's Scotland. And we'll get to Fort Augustus when we get to Fort Augustus. So the time is 8:36, 37 now. Let's go.
Then I might consider phoning my partner.
I tell you, I actually really enjoyed staying in the youth hostel last night. It was great to meet different people from all around the world actually. Some people cycling Land's End to John O'Groats, people on the Great Glen Way, just people road tripping through Scotland. I feel quite inspired by the different journeys that I learnt about, and I'd quite like to follow in their footsteps, as I hope maybe you guys might like to do with me on this trail. So really looking forward to seeing what the route has to offer today. We've got obviously the lochside walking about 4 or 5 miles along Loch Oich, and then from there we hit the Caledonian Canal, which we follow pretty much all the way to Fort Augustus. So it's going to be really nice today, nice and gentle, gradient again. If you took the Inver route you'd be going up and down a lot more, so have fun with that if you do it. So the actual official route goes along the eastern shore, so it feels quite good to be actually on the official Great Glen Way. And there it is then, Laggan Swing Bridge at the southern head of Loch Oich, which actually happens to be the highest point on the Caledonian Canal at 37 metres above sea level. Watch out for altitude sickness.
On the other side of the bridge, I got my first views over Loch Oich, which glistened wonderfully in the morning light and beckoned me to walk along its shore. So that's just what I did.
So we've left Laggan behind now, and I'd like to introduce Beanie here. I met her at the youth hostel, also doing the Great Glen Way, hence why I walk in the same direction. You enjoying it?
Yeah, no, it's been amazing.
Good. So how come you chose the Great Glen Way?
I think, well, this is my first time really in Scotland.
Yeah.
And I just wanted a long distance path that would be not too dramatic, as in not huge mountains to climb, but
Yeah.
still get a good sense of the kind of
Yeah, you're really getting a
Outside.
feel for everything Scotland has to offer here.
yeah,
So-
including the rain.
Yeah, well. Well, yesterday we passed each other and I made a comment about, oh, the sun's come out. And then literally like 5 minutes later it started raining. So
Yeah, you jinxed it.
yeah, I did. Sorry about that. So we're just going to like not talk about the weather
Okay.
and take whatever comes. So cool. Well, let's see what today has to offer. See that sign? Inver Station. Where is the station, you may ask? Well, the railway line was actually discontinued in 1933, so it was created and officially began its use in 1901. So it had a very short lifespan, basically because there were not enough passengers to use it, so then they turned it into a railway for coal transport, and then basically by 1933 just wasn't making enough money, so they just cut the project and that was it. But there is a but. There's some very passionate locomotive enthusiasts in the area, and basically they're trying to revive the stations, dig them out from their overgrown state and bring it back to life as a sort of tourist attraction to bring people into the area, which I just think is really great. It's lovely to see that there's people who are so passionate about something that they do things for free and they want to share it with others who are visiting in the area. So we've got a old bridge here actually. Welcome to the Inver station project. So I expect this is probably part of it. Choo-choo! Oh, there actually is a station and there actually is an engine on it. I did not realise that. This is quite exciting. Discovering things.
The station had a short stretch of track and a steam engine to look at, and there was a real air of excitement, perhaps around the anticipation of its restoration.
So Loch Oich then is actually 4 miles in length, so it's the shortest loch that we walk along on the Great Glen Way, and basically it's just a straight line along the railway track. But it is nice because compared to yesterday we can see the water a little bit more, and you can see across to the other side. But what is slightly different is you can hear the road, the A82, that main road that we walked along yesterday, which is a little bit of a shame, but if you shut that out you could feel a bit more remote. We have come across another Trailblazer wild campsite, so we've got the composting toilets here. You should be locked. They're not. So again, you don't need to pay that £10 for the key. This one's a little bit nicer. I'm showing you a toilet. This is exciting. So it's a composting toilet, basically again to save water, a little bit more environmentally friendly. Do not lock this door. Interesting. And it's a beautiful place to wild camp. There's this kind of meadow here that you can pitch up in, and just the views over the loch. Wow. I would definitely recommend camping here if you can. So we're about to go through a railway tunnel and there's bat boxes either side. I don't know what species of bat they get here. I'm afraid you could get stuck on the railway like that. So believe it or not, we're pretty much near the end of Loch Oich. So we've walked the 4 miles along the shore and we're just approaching a place called Abbie, which has got the famous Bridge of Oich, which hopefully we can have a look at. And then from here, it's pretty much along the Caledonian Canal all the way to Fort Augustus. So we'll see what we can make of that.
The Bridge of Oich opened in 1854 and took traffic over the river until 1932, when the newer bridge was built. It uses a taper suspension principle designed by James Dredge, but following its withdrawal from service, the bridge fell into disrepair. In 1997, however, Historic Scotland renovated it, and it's now a listed building.
We've got to cross the loch here, across the little bridge. I reckon these are the manual things that were used to open these locks. They possibly had wood in here and they had to spin it round in order to open the gates. Oh, there goes that boat. This walking lark is hard work. It's taken me quite a while to enjoy walking along the canal in the way that perhaps I'd like. It's just sometimes quite hard when it's just a straight line, the path stretching out in front of you. I'm used to like being able to see a mountain pass that I've got to tackle and cycling myself up, but it is a different way of walking here. It's just about relaxing into that pace and gang-googling, which is actually a term called where you're just looking at the boats going past, which is quite cool. People wave, everyone's very friendly. It's a nice community of people around the canals, and it's quite cool to discover that. So we are here at Keitra Locks. So we're about an hour away actually from Fort Augustus, which is ridiculous given the fact it's not even 12 o'clock yet. This looks a really nice peaceful place. Probably added to the fact that it's sunny here. So at the moment then, we're walking with the canal on our right and the river Oich on our left. You can't really see the river, or hear it actually, but the canal's got a lot broader in size, and it's quite nice just walking along it and seeing the reflection of the trees, and especially when the sky is blue, it brings everything to life that little bit more. Okay, so we're just approaching Fort Augustus. That last stretch along the canal was pretty, but just canal walking really. It's nice when the sun comes out there because we can see the mountains around us. They're not particularly high, but you can see the undulation in the features. So anyway, Fort Augustus, this is where, well, we're both stopping actually today. That sign just said the best kept secret on Loch Ness. So that has just given it away. We're approaching Loch Ness now, and that's the loch that we'll be following for the next 2 days. This set of locks here is just a little bit shorter than Neptune's staircase. There's 6 locks here as opposed to the 8, so it still takes about an hour to get through. Wow, look at this. It's a big set of locks. God, look at that.
Fort Augustus is roughly halfway along the trail, and the locks on the canal are a good central point to the village. It originally grew up around a fort built by General Wade in the aftermath of the Jacobite Rising in the 1700s, but nowadays it sees a hive of activity with people visiting to explore the famous Loch Ness.
This is the real hub for the Caledonian Canal, and this is where the merchandise for the Loch Ness Monster begins. Look at these. They're pretty cute. There's a little store here along this, so I'm going to go there and get some supplies, and we're also just going to stop for a drink at a cafe, which is nice. But I'm actually considering right now, since we're here and it's 1 o'clock, carrying on to another campsite called Inver. So the route splits just a little bit further. You've got the high route and the low route, and everyone says without a doubt take the high route. So I would do that, and then I'd have to go back along the low route about a mile to the Inver campsite. But it would mean that tomorrow, rather than 24 miles, I would have a lot less than that. So currently that's what I'm debating, but I think coffee first and then important decisions can be made afterwards. Okay, leaving the cafe behind. That was a very good luxury stop. I feel refueled and refreshed. I've eaten a ridiculous number of oat cakes, so now I have no excuse but to move. We left Beanie behind, so we've parted ways, and what I'm going to do now is head out from Fort Augustus. There seems to be a real honeypot site, lots of people here, and make our way on towards Inverness, I think it's called. So quite quickly actually, probably no more than 5 minutes, we've left the noise of Fort Augustus behind and making our way now just on the trail. But I was just thinking about how lovely this morning was just to walk with Beanie. You know, as someone who walks alone a lot, I tend to lose sight of how nice it is to share the journey with somebody. So that was just really, really good. I love these kind of adventures where you meet people along the way and then you walk together and you share the journey, even for a little bit, because sometimes coming home and telling people what you've done, they can't fully appreciate what it's like, the energy and the effort and the transitions you go through just in the day, the highs, the lows, the challenges, the good things. So that was just a really nice treat for me, and it's great to make new friends and meet people on the trail. But now we're headed out alone, just you and me, onto the trail, onwards towards wherever it is I'm going today. Inver, I think it's called. Just a little campsite on the shores of Loch Ness. Check this out, folks, an actual incline. That's like the first incline on this trail. Wow.
It was so good to feel my muscles engaging, and I smiled as an electric energy pulsed through my body, as though I'd woken from a deep and restorative sleep.
This way. Oh wow, look at these fungi. Gosh, they are incredible. Look at that colour, such a rich orange and red. Secrets of the only island on Loch Ness. Cherry Island ahead of you is the only island on Loch Ness. The loch is a deep U-shaped trench scored out by glaciers which left behind no rocks big enough to form an island. The island is actually a man-made dwelling known as a crannog, perhaps 2,500 years old. The crannog was called Cherry Island in the 18th century by 18th century soldiers at Fort Augustus, perhaps because of the wild cherry trees, genes, that used to grow on it. Its local name was Murdoch's Island. It's a bit of a shame because you can't really see Cherry Island at all actually. The trees are just a bit too high, so credit to the trees, they're doing okay. Anyway, I was just looking at the guidebook and it appears it's here that the low and high routes divide. So if I want to go high, I'm going to go up this track. So I'm going to leave the old Great Glen Way, or the official route, and I'm going to head up high. So basically it's just one long climb up to the top, get above the tree line, and then we'll get the views that I've been so longing for on this trail. You know, it still shocks me actually, the contrast in light in different types of forestry plantation. This type's so dense and dark, and so much cooler as well because the sun and the light can't get through. It must drop a good 5 degrees, so at least this is uphill, that'll keep us warm. At that viewpoint over Cherry Island, there was that split, and I went up, just went up basically, and that was the wrong trail. The split that these guys are on about is a little bit further along, then you take the left path over a waterfall. If you go over a waterfall, you've gone the right way. So it's okay because I'm on this track now, so I can follow this and then pick up the trail, and who knows, there may even be signs. So we will see. We've got 2 waterfalls to go over, and then we'll be back on the trail. Wow, the views over Loch Ness now. We're not even at the highest point of this little stretch, and that is something else. I can really see why the route recommends it. The largest freshwater loch in Scotland. Oh yeah man, check it out. This is what we like. Great Glen Way sign. I got lazy with my navigation on this trail because you just get so used to following these guys. They're perfect. So this is it. We're back on the high route for the Great Glen Way, crossing over this beautiful river, coming down the mountainside. Okay, this is where we leave the track. So there's a bit more climbing to go to get above the tree line. Let's do it. Beautiful heather lining the way. Look at that stuff. Bell heather, most beautiful colour, utilised by the bees. Honestly, I can't tell you how good it feels to have an incline. It's been flat so far, all the way on the trail, other than a couple of tiny little ascents. So this is just making my heart skip for joy. Really enjoying this through the forest. We've got the river alongside. It's truly beautiful. Oh, flip. Oh my word. Whoa.
I wasn't sure what I expected to see when I reached the high path, but I can honestly say I was absolutely astonished by the vast views down the glen which stretched on for miles. It was actually a slightly overwhelming moment, being able to see so far after 3 days of canal-side walking, and I felt utterly humbled to be in such a magnificent landscape, truly lost for words.
My heart is in my mouth. Oh gosh. Look at that view. Oh gosh. That's got to be one of the best sitting down spots ever. You can just see the path meandering its way along the hillside. You've got a bit of a way to walk yet. I was just thinking about what the way and my time on the way, the Great Glen Way, has taught me so far. And I feel like actually my eyes have been opened to the importance of perspective. Those first few days, couple of days, I was really struggling for energy and motivation. I just finished the West Highland Way, I was feeling really lethargic, just had a bit of a crash, and of course I was walking along the canal thinking, this is really monotonous, it's flat, what do I show you guys? And it was as I sat down just to think and figure out what on earth I was doing. Shall I just pack up my bag and head for home? The trail's not going anywhere. That I caught sight of the wildflowers and the colour just flooded into me and it started to pump through my veins, and I realised that there was so much beauty around me in the wildflowers, in the ripples on the canal, in the colours of the leaves on the trees, the different shapes, and the feel of the wind against my face, the smile of the people on the boats on the canal. There was so much joy in that place, and I had to choose to pursue that joy. So my every step was one of courage and determination to let that joy flood my heart and my mind and my body. And it has. And you know, so whilst that might not have been the most inspiring stretch, I found the joy, I found the beauty, and now that I'm up here, I'm just reminded of what a privilege it is to be journeying through actually quite a harsh and remote environment, and yet here I am looking over the largest freshwater loch in Scotland in this wild land, and I just can't put into words the joy and pleasure in my body right now. I just feel so privileged, overwhelmed with gratitude at the beauty, even in the rain. And the way has just reminded me that it's so important to choose what you see. Every situation has two sides to the coin. You make life what you want it to be, and I want my every step to be one pursuing joy and to be pursuing the best version of myself. And it's out here that I thrive, and I can do that at my best. This is a seriously switchbacky trail, goes quite steeply downhill. Oh, stuff this. Let's up the pace of it. It's way more fun, lighter on the knees, and it's faster. Here we go, we got this timber stacking area here. We've got the track there, which is where the low route comes from, and both routes head down that way. So we're going this way. It actually feels really weird going this way now. So we're adding on some miles by going the wrong direction. This is going against everything in my body right now. Never mind, it's in the name of a campsite. Now that we're on this low route, it's giving a little glimpse into what the entire stretch from Fort Augustus along the shores of Loch Ness would be like. Just like this, through coniferous plantation, on and on and on along the track. So without a doubt, the upper trail is superior. Campsite sign. That is a comfort right now. Inver Coille, campsite open, this way. So we're leaving the Great Glen Way, we'll come back up here tomorrow, and this is where we're heading now. this way. It says Drumrochit, 14 miles. So that's what we've got tomorrow. Boom. Follow the white posts. This is not an obvious trail. And here we are. That was a really short descent down through the forest to get to here in the Coille campsite. Let's see what things are like. So that is what day is it? Day 3 on the Great Glen Way. All done, finished, we have arrived. Really good day actually, beautiful, and it's really nice to combine the two sort of contrasting sections of the trail along the canal and Loch Lochy as well, of course. Gosh, that was all today. And up over the top, looking down over Loch Ness. I feel like it has been a really, really good day. I feel fulfilled, I feel energized, and I'm super glad that tomorrow is just that little bit shorter. So I'm gonna get our tent up, charge my batteries and stuff, quite literally, and then we'll head on for day 4 of the Great Glen Way. Yay! Halfway through putting my tent up and it starts to tip it down. So I just ran in here with so many midges as well. Oops. Great end to the day. At least we're dry. Just. It is a glorious sunny morning, but you wouldn't believe it because we're in the darkness of the coniferous plantation. Never mind. So what we're doing is we've left the campsite where the midges have taken most of my blood, and we're going to head up towards the Great Glen Way again, pick up that low route, and then we'll follow that to where we left it yesterday, where the points, different paths join, and then from there we're going to head on towards Inverness and the rest of the journey for today, our penultimate day, day 4 on the Great Glen Way. Just working on my second breakfast. Oh, vitamin C. How I need this stuff. Good morning, Loch Ness. How wonderful it is to see you today. Good morning, Heather. Good morning, trees. Good morning, sky. Good morning, birds in the trees. Good morning, bracken, although you might not be my best friend ever. Good morning, pine tree. Honestly, it feels so good to be out today. Just the sense of freedom that I'm feeling. I'm just elated. It's going to be a good day. Choosing that perspective, chasing joy, let's make this happen. "35 minutes later and we are back at the joining point, so we came down there. Obviously you just walked along the low route for a bit and now the routes are joined, so we're going to walk along here into new territory. I'm just standing in front of Telford's Bridge, built between 1805 and 1813. It carried traffic across the River Morriston for over 100 years until this new bridge was built. But it's pretty spectacular. The two arches there catching the light as the sun's coming up. Look at this dog. I'm so confused right now. He's just like sat in the seat like a human. That is great.
Inverness, though a small place, had a lot to check out, including a coffee shop, a small store, a craft centre, and St Columba's well, said to have been blessed by St Columba in the 6th century AD, and legend has it is the source of Loch Ness.
That's a nice little place. It's got a good atmosphere, lots going on, lots to offer people who are visiting. But we're leaving it behind as quickly as we entered, and we're headed up this road now, and up is the key word there. We've got a bit of a climb ahead of us. I know that this cleared forest area here looks really messy with all the dead wood about. It just looks like it's been torn apart. But actually, the forestry folk leave this wood here for a reason, because dead wood attracts life. So basically, you get the mosses and lichen and the insects that'll bury into the dead wood, and then that allows all the nutrients to go into the soil, which then allows the grasses and the bracken and the ferns and everything else to grow. And it just gradually, the succession builds until you get the pioneer plant starting again, and then you get the whole ecosystem starting all over again. So it's left here for a reason, even though it looks pretty destructive. Okay, we're not going that way. Great Glen Way section closed. Huh, never mind. The path seems to be descending now for a little bit. I just love how in this like wet, moist environment, all along the time I've spent in Scotland and all the different trails, there's just always so many different colours, different shapes, different sizes. You've got to keep your eye open for them, otherwise you'll miss them. So you see what I mean about the dead wood? There's still lots on the ground here, and yet we can see that we've got birch trees and more pine and the occasional sort of beech tree growing here. And you've got the mosses, you've got the bilberry plants on the floor. So this dead wood left standing here to rot has allowed this landscape to come up from the ground and to thrive as it is now. It would appear that that diversion took us around the perimeter of the forest as opposed to through it, but we've joined this track now which goes down into the forest, which was the original way before all the trees fell down on top of it, I guess. But you know, this track is not an exception to the quality of conditions underfoot on this trail. It's really solid and sure, and yeah, it gets wet when it rains, as does everywhere, but it's a really decent trail.
A short stretch further uphill was the Viewcatcher sculpture, an eye in the sky made of Caledonian pine and local stone, designed to magnify the stunning views, and it's said that on a clear day you can see all the way to Ben Nevis and beyond.
This is Altside Burn. I probably said that completely wrong, but it goes down to the little hamlet on the shore of Loch Ness. There's a little hostel there if you wanted to break the stay up a bit more. But from here we've got a bit of a steep climb up to the highest point for today, which is just shy of 400 meters, I think. I feel like so far today the only wow factor has occurred at the Viewcatcher statue. The rest of it's just kind of been meandering in and out of forest, which is lovely, but it's not had the same kind of impact as yesterday did. So I'm just holding off. We've got a long way to go yet, hoping that perhaps when we get above the shores of Loch Ness again, we might get those views that just take my breath away. Wow, look at this bridge. A troll's limerick. A big fat troll is what I can see. He's as big as 6'3". My goosebumps go bing. He's allergic to a bee sting, so he will run from a bumblebee. Here's a sleeping troll in a sleeping stroll under a bridge. He would put you in his fridge and stuff you in his bowl. The end. Going over the Troll's Bridge. Looks like I made it for today. I haven't ended up in any troll's fridge. That's a relief. Oh wow. That's more like it. Our old friend Loch Ness. So this point is the highest point on the Great Glen Way, nearly 400 meters above sea level. We've got a little stone shelter there, and these views, this is our reward. Okay, so that viewpoint back there, that was a blow my mind moment. This trail just had so many surprises around every single corner. Oh, look at that. That is just the most beautiful scene. I would have that painted on my wall any day. But I don't need to, because I'm here, and that is the real thing. Oh, feel that sun. That's what we're talking about. Here we go. Drumrochit, or Droit. I don't know how to say that word. 7 miles. Woohoo! Inverness, 5.5. Oh, I feel like I've walked further than that. So this is actually where the low route comes up to here, and the high route comes down there actually. So they're both joining to head this way. Onwards we go. This feels a little late in the season, but I'm not going to complain. Check it out. Bilberries. Basically like a wild blueberry. There's not many about, but there's a few. Oh, that's a big one. These are like little capsules of heaven. So sweet. Really, really good. So these fences are revealing that we're getting close to civilization again. We're working our way to a little place called Great Glen Way, which is just a few houses. Probably said that completely wrong as well as everything else. But there's a cafe there and some Loch Ness clay works and pottery. So I thought we could check that out if they're open. That'd be quite nice to see. Oh, I like that. That's cute. That was ridiculously refreshing. Really lovely people there. The tea has done me good. And I even bought a little pot that I'm going to put some wildflowers in. So I'm very, very happy. I did learn though. And I think I knew this, but I perhaps hadn't registered it. There's the Highland Games going on in Drumrochit where we're going. So we'll expect to come over the hill to the sounds of bagpipes and hammer throwing going on. So we'll see what we can make of that. Check out this honesty box. Now that's the coolest I've seen. Oh hey, flapjack, looking good. You have a nice place to live, can I just say that? Yeah? Do you want to say hi? You have an itchy nose. Have you got an itchy nose? All hope is lost. Look at these raspberries. We're never going to make it now. I'm sorry, this is it. Maybe my walk needs to end here. Wild raspberries. Oh yeah. Man, it doesn't get any better than this. I love that we've got this path to walk on alongside the road occasionally. Honestly, look at this colour. It's just, I love this time of year. I love spring and summer and autumn and winter. Every season has so much beauty, if only you open your eyes. Oh my word. It's too far away for the microphone to hear, but carried by the wind, I can hear someone speaking on a megaphone. I can hear the games. Oh, I'm stoked. I just caught some glimpses of the games going on, and I'm really hoping we can get there before they finish up today. See if we can get in and see some traditional Scottish dancing and hear the music and just pick up the vibes. So I'm kind of like half running at the moment because I just really would love to get there. Anyway, I won't do myself an injury. We'll enjoy the scenery as well. I am a responsible adult now. Yeah, that's totally not true. So I can see the campsite, Boreham Camping, that's where we'll be staying tonight, but we'll go there later. There are other pressing issues, such as the Highland Games that happen once a year and attract nearly 4,000 people. I am not going to miss this. So this is the River Coille we're going over. I'm not sure I'm pronouncing that right, but this is it anyway. Here we go. This is the site, this is where it's all happening. So I'm all pitched up and I was going to call it a day, but once a castle lover, always a castle lover. And that's what I'm going to go and do. Find the castle. No way. Look at that. It's out of the sun now, but that is pretty flipping epic. Oh, I've made a terrible mistake. I didn't bring my wallet, so therefore I can't get into the castle. Oh, I just left in such a rush. Gutted, gutted, gutted. Absolutely gutted. Here you go, look. If you did have money and you wanted to go in, it's £9. Never mind.
Urquhart Castle is one of the largest in the area, and its history can be dated back to AD 580, when a Pictish fort is said to have stood on the same site. The ruins seen today date back to the 1200s, a time when it was captured by the English King Edward I. It was later recaptured by the Scots under Robert the Bruce, but saw much turmoil and many battles between the Scots and the English following that. It's an impressive ruin in a truly majestic setting on the side of Loch Ness.
Okay, that's enough adventuring for today. Let's go back to camp, get some food, and get a good night's sleep before our final day on the Great Glen Way tomorrow. Can't believe it's the last day. What is happening? Oh, it is cold. It's kind of like the weather's gone, alright folks, summer's over, winter's here. It's about 5 degrees at the moment, and yes, I'm in a t-shirt, but that's because I have a hat on, obviously. No, because it's forecast to get pretty torrential today. Literally, the mountain weather forecast says severe for August. So I'm trying to keep my coat off for as long as possible, and hopefully this will encourage me to walk a bit faster, just to get my heart rate up and get a bit warmer. But we've left the campsite now, and we're just making our way across the bridge and into Drumrochit, which we'll follow the road for a bit actually. So we've got 20 miles, folks, between us and the end of the trail at Inverness. Can't quite believe that. Here we go, look. Nessie land. Proof that this town centres itself around the legend of the Loch Ness monster. I think it started in around 1844. And now, look at this. Little did they know what they'd started. And this is the River Enric, so that second river passing through the town here. Oh boy. Will do, thank you. Here we are then, this is the shores of Loch Ness again. We've got Loch Ness cruisers and the lifeboat station there. And I'm pretty sure, yep, here we go. This is where we leave the road, which is good because that was long enough. And we've got a bit of an uphill climb now to a place called Chai Chat, I think. On the 26th of August 1952, you would have seen John Crob's Crusader arriving to try and break the world water speed record. And basically, he ended up going at 200 miles per hour, but he didn't break the record because he was killed. The boat flipped up, and tragically, he was killed. So, unfortunately, the record wasn't his, but pretty impressive to try it, let's be honest. So much of Scotland nowadays is broken up into estates that are owned by families and individuals, big areas of land, and this is the Chai Chat estate now then that we're walking through. But the road also goes through it as well. Whew, feeling warm, and we come up high enough. We're not as high as we get yet, but we got views over the loch. We can see the castle there, just on the spur. Oh, I love this place. It's quite good actually, because most of the ascents are done today by 6 miles in. So the final 14 miles is kind of just up high, a little bit undulating, up towards Blackfold and beyond to Inverness. So just kind of got to get these 6 miles done, and then we'll be up high. I've just had a look at the guidebook, and it seems like we follow this forestry track for a fair old while, just steadily climbing up the side of the hill here. So you know, there really has been a lot of forest track on this trail. It's quite surprising actually, but at least at the moment we've still got some views over Loch Ness. I'll be sad to see those views go, to be honest. They've been pretty epic. Look at this rock that lines the path. It's been cut so that this track can go through the hillside. Man, the amount of work that must have taken. It's quite nice here because you've got the different stages of growth with the trees. So you've got the little wee ones here, little babes, and then bigger ones, and then big ones. Obviously they're different species, but it's quite nice to be able to see that. These newer ones are so almost like fluorescent green, and the needles are very fine and soft almost. Whereas the more mature ones, the needles are proper spiky. Ow, see? For the next 7.5 miles, you're walking within a water supply catchment area. Please act responsibly, as your actions may have consequences. Actually, on that note, is that it? Are we saying goodbye to Loch Ness? Because I don't feel like I've parted properly. That's a bit demoralising. Just kind of walking away from the shore. Okay, well, bye! Onwards! Oh, well, that's not exactly filled me with joy. Inverness, 18.8 kilometres. How far's that in miles? Far enough, that's for sure.
I was soon entering into the Abbie forest, owned by a scattered community of around 130 people. They manage around 540 hectares, which they use to create local employment, improve the environment, and encourage its enjoyment by the public.
Just about a kilometre up the road, there's this eco cafe that everyone keeps telling me about, and apparently they have legendary lemon cake. So we'll see if we can check it out, see if they're open. It is a Sunday morning and a little early still, so we'll find out. I've got to ring the bell apparently, so that's just what I'm going to do.
The path began to be swallowed by a mass of painted signs as I moved closer to the cafe, a clever marketing tactic that would cause even the most defiant walker to become curious.
Look at that. Death trap. Check this out. Oh yeah. So we've got carrot and bean soup there. I've got some cheese, oat cakes, tomatoes, tea, which is warm. Keep calm and have a brew. I absolutely will. Man, life's good.
The warmth and flavours restored my body, which was fighting hard to keep a nasty cold at bay, as well as maintaining forward motion to see me to the end of the trail.
Back to the trail we go, in the pouring rain. We've got about 11 miles to Inverness. I reckon 3.5 hours. Let's do it. I've certainly fueled enough. That was really good food, really good tea. I'm feeling energised. Never mind the rain. The other side of the road. We're going this way. Oh. I'll tell you, it's bitterly cold now. Yes, the soup and drink warm me up, but I've even put an extra layer on. Got my hat, I got gloves. It even rolled down my trousers. It really is cold. But that doesn't take away from the beauty of the land that I'm walking through. In fact, it just feels even more wild. It's lovely. But we now have a really long road stretch. A couple of miles along the road, mostly level, so hopefully we can walk this nice and fast, and I'll try and show you the landscape that we're walking through as best I can in the rain.
The 2 miles along the road was a bit of a trudge, as there was very little shelter from the driving precipitation. It quickly became a bit of a heads down, just keep moving job, but I rose to the challenge and could even go as far as saying that I enjoyed it.
We're just entering the forest. It's quite sparse at the moment, but I'm pretty sure it's going to get denser. Conditions underfoot are starting to get quite wet and soggy, a little bit muddy, but that's okay, other than the fact that I have a gaping hole in my boot. And I'm also struggling with my body temperature. Keep getting really cold then really hot, so I don't know if that's the weather or if I've got a fever now as well. Still good to be out though, not complaining.
I stopped for a quick rest under some pine trees in an attempt to collaborate with my body, which was pulsing with the virus I was fighting. I felt weary, yet inspired, drawn out of myself by the water droplets dancing on the loose branches and dripping reindeer mosses in the trees. It was a magical and timeless place, and I knew no matter how ill I felt, there was nowhere else I would rather be.
The stretch of the Great Glen Way between here and Inverness overlaps with old cattle droving routes. Many of the routes you can drive or walk today in the Highlands began life as drove roads. It was at its peak, or Highland droving in the Highlands was at its peak in the 17 and 1800s. Each year, tens of thousands of tough and hairy cattle were driven south between May and October to be sold as at cattle markets. Buyers came from as far south as Norfolk, Suffolk, Essex and London, and the cattle drovers generally slept outside and lived on oatmeal porridge, unleavened bread, and the occasional dram of whiskey.
Check out this small reservoir just tucked away there. But actually this is the Laggan reservoir, which for me means there's about an hour and a half to go until we get to Inverness. So it's about 3, maybe 4 miles, maybe a bit more than that actually, since it's 3.5 hours, but we're making very good progress now. And yeah, it's crazy actually, the countdown's on. But you know, even though it's been raining quite heavy on and off, and it gets cold and then I get hot and then cold, I've loved pretty much every step of this today. It's been some really beautiful walking, and it's such a shame I found it really hard to capture it. But just gonna have to come walk it yourself, I guess. Ooh, through the gate. There we go. That's our first views down over Inverness. Whoa, that's a lot of houses. I haven't seen that many for a while. Well, hey, look at this. Inverness Castle, 4 miles to go. Wow, we're getting there, folks. So from here then, it's pretty much all downhill into Inverness. So I feel kind of a bit sad knowing that these are probably some of the last pine trees I'm going to be walking through here in Scotland on this trip anyway. Gosh, I actually need to process this a minute. I'm nearly there.
Sometimes, the hardest thing about backpacking doesn't have so much to do with the hiking itself, but the finishing of a trip. Your big dream is realised, and you're full to the brim with stories of the sights that you've seen and the places that you've been. You've changed, grown, and become more whole. For me, the last few miles are usually a tangle of relief mixed with gratitude, humility, and sadness. My mind flashes with the treasured memories I've created on the trail, and I hold on to them like my life depends on it, which in some ways it does, since these experiences give me a taste of what it means to be truly alive.
I thought I'd put my sunglasses on and a step of optimism in the hope that it will clear up before we get to the end. Oh boy. Kind of feels a bit weird, but we've been working our way through this housing estate. It's just like out from the wilderness into people's gardens. So here it is, the Caledonian Canal. We're reunited. We've got a short stretch along its banks before we cross over and head towards the River Ness, and then we follow the River Ness all the way to Inverness Castle.
It felt good to be walking once again alongside my familiar friend, the Caledonian Canal, and I silently thanked it for allowing me to journey along its banks, and for teaching me about the value of seeing joy in ordinary moments.
Okay, so a chap just told me that I can't go across the bridge to Ness Island, which is a shame because that's the way the route goes. So what we'll have to do is follow the river on the other side, so opposite the trail, and then cross over the bridge nearer to Inverness Castle. So that's a bit of a shame actually. Apparently they're doing maintenance work, but we'll still be able to see the bridge anyway. Let's go have a look. Last view of the canal. Goodbye, canal. So this peaceful looking river is the River Ness, and the bridge is indeed closed. So that's Ness Island there, which is just basically a little squidge of land. A squidge of land? A squidge of land, that's now a technical term, in between the river. So it just sits right slap bang in the middle. This kind of appears to be a park, but we can see here we've got this diversion of the Great Glen Way, so we need to walk along this side of the river and then cross over on the other side, or on the other bridge even. Look at this. Wow.
The bridge provided excellent views both up and down the river, as well as over towards the 19th century Inverness castle, built by William Byrne, using pronounced red sandstone. The last mile through the city passed in a blur. I would speed up and then slow down, unsure of what I wanted, but completely floored by what I had. Nothing else mattered during those last few moments than to take the time to own my story and reflect on the lessons that I'd learned.
It is pouring down, and I can't quite believe we are here. This is the end of the Great Glen Way, and if I just turn around, that is Inverness Castle. Not a bad place to finish. You know, we've travelled 79 miles along the length of the Great Glen. We started with Loch Lochy, then we travelled along the shores of Loch Oich, and of course we had the magnificent Loch Ness thrown in for good measure. With the Caledonian Canal. I cannot forget the Caledonian Canal. You know, I had no idea what to expect with this journey, but I feel like we've experienced some of the best views that Scotland has to offer. I've learned so much about the land that I've travelled through, but also about myself. This time rediscovering the importance of perspective. So for me, that means choosing joy and chasing the beauty in the ordinary. But that is it from me. Thank you for journeying these 5 days along the length of the Great Glen with me. It has been a pleasure to share it with you. I'm going to go and get dry. So until next time, guys, enjoy your adventures and stay wild.
With my walk finished, I wandered the streets, feeling lost in my surroundings, yet fully found within myself. I knew, though, that the Great Glen Way wasn't yet finished with me, and that I'd be back, perhaps on 2 wheels, or even powered by a paddle. It wasn't so much of a goodbye then, but a thank you and a see you soon. Until then, I committed to choosing to see joy in each and every ordinary moment, and to say thank you for the beauty.